Hey, what is up, you guys? My name is Jess, and welcome back to Planted Hippie. I do join you on a very gloomy, rainy Florida day. It has been a very long time since it has actually rained like this, so I am really happy for the plants outside. But today's video is going to be another top 5 monthly houseplant favorites for the month of October. So if that does interest you, I please ask that you stick around, leave a like, maybe even a comment down below, or even hitting that subscribe button so that you are notified every time I upload a new video and to help me keep on planting. Please also don't forget to follow me on Instagram at planted.hippie, where I post new planty photos daily. So with that, let's go ahead and get into this month's top 5 monthly houseplant favorites. Alrighty, so the very first plant today is actually a brand new plant to the collection, and if you guys are already following me on Instagram, you may have already seen this plant. But our first favorite for the month is going to be my newest addition, Epipremnum pinnatum albo. Or albo variegata. So this is basically like a typical epipremnum, like a Cebu blue or like a Baltic blue in that family. It is the variegated form, obviously, and look how beautiful this variegation is. It is actually, if you can see, if I can hide my little face here. As you can see here, it is actually putting out a new leaf, and it will be here soon. So if you do want to keep updated on when this guy does put out that new leaf, I do ask that you follow me on Instagram. That's where I post a lot of planty updates and things like that when beautiful new leaves emerge and when I'm doing plant chores and stuff like that. So I always appreciate when you guys follow me on there. This plant has obviously just been here a couple weeks now and just acclimating. Girls, cats are going crazy right now. So like I was saying, the plant is still sort of acclimating to my new space, and I'm guessing it's a little happy since it is, again, like I mentioned, putting out a new leaf. So that's always a good sign that the growth point hasn't dried up or anything sad like that. So I will keep you guys updated on how this plant does and how it continues to acclimate in my care. So I'm very, very excited to have this plant, and once it roots out this little pot it is in currently, I will be moving it to a bigger terracotta pot and transferring it to a moss pole so that it can hopefully get really, really big and start to fenestrate for me, and we can see its beautiful variegation as it continues to mature. So I'm very, very excited to see this plant develop, and I am really, really happy to be its new owner. So yeah, this was our very first favorite for the month, the Epipremnum pinnatum albo variegata. Alrighty, so the next plant on our list is going to be a Hoya. I got this Hoya, I believe, earlier this year, and I am just super, super excited to show you guys how much growth this beautiful Hoya has given me. This growing season has really been good to this plant, and the plant I am talking about is the Hoya obovata variegata. So as you can see, it's so beautiful. The variegation, as you can see, did not start off very, very strong, and as it continued to vine out, I'm kind of being careful because I don't want the soil to spill. There we go. As you can see, the variegation has started to really pick up and get a lot more beautiful, and if I can kind of zoom in here, if we can kind of see that there's also a beautiful new growth point happening, and I could not be more happy that this Hoya is doing well. I this summer have had a really kind of big battle with mealybugs, and I've kind of been seeing online that a lot of people have had a lot of trouble with either mealybugs or thrips this summer. I just think it has just been an attack of the pests this summer, and no one is safe because this girl and a lot of my other Hoyas got a pretty bad beating from mealybugs, and I have been treating it and just checking over it again. Right now I'm not seeing anything obvious, and luckily the mealybugs here in Florida are like beefy girls and they are easily noticeable usually, so I can get on top of treating and helping out any plants that have succumbed to any mealybug infections. But it looks like it has been overall taken care of. I do believe it would be a lot even bigger if it wasn't attacked by mealybugs this summer, but oh well, at least the new growth is looking semi, normal and not looking gross or anything. You can see how beautiful the variegation is on these leaves. Super, super splashy and lots of color. This is a really, really pretty one. Super, super beautiful Hoya. I fell in love with it when it was just a little tiny cutting. It was like 2 little cuttings in a pot when I first got it. I will try and find a photo of it, obviously, to show you guys where it started. But I am just so in awe over its growth. It is such an easy plant to take care of. As you can see, it is in just a really small terracotta pot. I am guessing that is probably going to be needing a repot here shortly. I will be also taking cuttings from it to sort of propagate it and make a more fuller pot. So when I do that, I will probably be taking it out of this one and moving it into a more larger pot so I can have enough room to stick those cuttings just directly into the pot, or I may root them separately and then add them to the pot. Either or, that is what I plan to do with this gal. So yeah, I was very, very excited to show you guys this Hoya, and I really hope you guys enjoyed her as much as I have been enjoying her. I keep her behind me in my little IKEA greenhouse cabinet here, and she sort of sits in the middle area here. I did have her in my tall Millsbow cabinet for a little bit, but if you can see here, this leaf in particular started to get a little sun stressed and looking kind of, or maybe it was this one. It could have been this one because it's kind of small. It started to get really, really sun stressed and not looking very cute in my opinion. So I went ahead and moved it back into the greenhouse that has it a little bit lower away from the grow light at the top. So ever since I did that, the sun stressing actually sort of went away, which is sort of weird. And I thought like once the damage is there, it sort of stays, but eventually it was almost like a sunburn. And maybe that is it there. You can kind of see the discoloration. It's almost like hyperpigmentation almost, and maybe that's where it got sunburnt. Eventually it just sort of kind of went away, and now they kind of look normal again. So I moved it away from that really high light, and that is what ended up happening. So hopefully it is happy again back where it was originally. I was just sort of experimenting to see if increasing the light would affect the growth rate at all or make any sort of peduncles start happening. And besides the extra growth point happening here mid vine, I don't notice a ton difference, so I ended up just moving it back since I didn't really love the coloration of the sun stress that was happening on the newest leaf. Other than that, it has given me no issues, and it's actually pretty hardy against those mealybugs that ended up attacking it this summer. So I am really, really happy that it withstood the attack from those horrible bugs. So yeah, that was my second favorite for the month, my Hoya obovata variegata. And let's go ahead and move on to our next plant. Alrighty guys, so if you are an anthurium lover like I am, you are probably going to have a shit over the next plant I am about to show you guys. The anthurium that I'm about to show you guys is actually one of the most recent anthurium I actually purchased this year, and it is actually pretty funny that this is an anthurium that is known to be a common anthurium and really easy care, and just well known for being a little bit of an easier anthurium to care for if you are a beginner plant parent or just getting into anthurium. The anthurium I am going to be showing you today started off as a tiny little leaf, and not tiny, but it still has the original leaves on it, and I can show you where it started from and where it is now. You guys will not believe how crazy fast this plant grew in such a short amount of time. And the anthurium that I am talking about today is this big beautiful girl. This is my anthurium crystallinum, and if you guys follow me on Instagram, you will already have seen this beautiful girl. I take pictures of her all the time, and for good reason. She produces some of the biggest leaves in my collection now, and they are so pristine. I'm just gonna get out of the way for a second so you can just focus on them. But as you can see guys, just unreal, the veining, the velvetiness, it is just so breathtaking. It is quickly, because of these big beautiful leaves, becoming one of my favorite anthurium to date. As you can see, it is just in a normal plastic nursery pot. I have it in some pretty chunky airy soil, and I do have the sort of top of the pot sort of dressed in sphagnum moss, and around the stem here I do have the sphagnum moss all packed in to encourage more aerial root growth, and hopefully one day I can take cuttings from from this girl. It has already made some pups for me that I have sold locally to other plantee friends here in St. Augustine. So if you were the one who got my little crystallinum pup, I so do hope she is doing well for you, as well as this one has done for me, because as you can see, this little tiny leaf here is starting to kind of give out and yellow and getting ready to die off. But this was actually one of the last leaves that was present on the plant when I initially bought it. So as you can see, this tiny leaf here transformed to this massive size. But yeah, I just cannot believe the absolute change and the amount of growth of these leaves and just the upsizing capabilities of this plant. This was the leaf that came out like a couple months ago that I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it is getting so big, and like I can't imagine it getting any bigger. This one was like the size of my face and I was just so shook. And then she put out this leaf about 2 months ago and I was just even more in awe, like, oh my god, it's so, again, they're like flawless leaves because, like I mentioned, this anthurium appreciates lots of humidity. If you're gonna want these really flawless looking leaves, give it as much humidity as you can. I don't think it really requires as much humidity as more bratty and temperamental anthurium do require. So when I saw all the leaves continuing to upsize really quickly, as well as remain really beautiful, that's when I really kind of started to get excited about this plant, because some anthurium don't really hold on to more than 1 or 2 leaves at a time, and if they do, most of them aren't looking so hot. As you can see from this plant, and then you can see here, this is the newest leaf that has just, it's still even a little soft. It could like be a few more days of hardening off, but this is so beautiful, and the newest leaf, like I said. But even so, you can see the rest of the plant. All of the leaves are in pristine condition. So pretty. One little blemish there, but other than that, this is such a showpiece plant. And anytime I have friends over or have people come and see the plant room, I always have people ask questions about this big beautiful plant because it is just throwing out the biggest leaves lately. And yeah, I am hopefully going to be making a video of my biggest leaves in my collection, so this will definitely be in that video as well. So let me know in the comments if that is a video you are excited to see, and I will be working on that in the next week or so, so stay tuned for that video. I could go on and on all day about this plant. I absolutely love her, and again, she is just becoming one of my favorite anthurium of all time just because of how easy she has been growing for me, and again, these big beautiful leaves. So this is why I had to include her on our list today, and that was our number 3 plant, the Anthurium crystallinum. So let's go ahead and move on to our next plant. Alrighty, so the next plant on my list today is going to be another Hoya, and if you remember this Hoya, I don't remember if it was in a favorites video. It could have been, or it could have been in my one of my new plants video, like my little haul videos. So I will leave a card on which video this plant was previously mentioned in. But this Hoya has really grown a lot for me, and it was really a unique Hoya because of its coloration. And without talking too much more without showing it, this is my Hoya Lori Lynn, or Hoya Kentiana Lori Lynn, whatever you want to call it, Hoya Lori Lynn variegata, anything like that. This is her, this is she. Focus on her, there we go. As you can see, it does differ from other Hoya Waiedii by the variegation and this beautiful pink coloring being on the outer border rather than on the inside. And it is just a really unique Hoya. As you can see here, it just starts from this one little cutting here, and it is starting to actually branch off and make little growth points. So it is getting quite like hefty and like top heavy. So I will be also taking cuttings on this Hoya here soon. It is in another beautiful, just cute little terracotta. I did water it recently, so hopefully the soil does not tip out. And it actually is in the spot that I moved my Hoya obovata away from, and it is in my Millsbow tall IKEA cabinet, which has the grow lights really close to them. It is on the top shelf in that cabinet, so it is getting a lot of light from those grow lights, and as you can see, it is just putting out super variegated, bright, vibrant coloring. And I could not be more ecstatic with how beautiful this plant has turned out for me and how quickly it has been growing. So I just usually let this plant dry out whenever I see the topsoil has really dried out, and I go ahead and kind of lift up the pot to ensure that it is in fact dried out, or at least about halfway. If you have terracotta like this, you can kind of tell that it is wet, and you can see and you can touch it that it is wet to the touch. And I always sort of just judge based on weight as well. When you do keep plants for a while, you do start to learn them, and with this plant it is very easy to tell when she does need some water. I do also notice whenever it is putting out new growth that it does appreciate more water, so that those growth points are not drying out. But I kind of use that rule with any plant because those new little growth points and new little hands or leaves or whatever is being thrown out are so fragile, and they need as much water access as they can without obviously drowning the plant. I have just been really, again, obsessed with how beautiful this plant and all the growth has been giving me this year since having it, and it is quickly becoming one of my favorite Hoya, and I cannot wait till it is a huge bushy pink beautiful plant, and hopefully trailing even more by next year. And hopefully it does well throughout the winter for me. It is happy in the cabinet and stays happy throughout the winters. I will obviously keep you guys updated. So yeah, that was our fourth plant for today, my Hoya Kentiana Laurelyn, or just Hoya Laurelyn. Alrighty, so the last plant I have to talk about today is actually a little bit too big for me to carry over here in front of the camera, so I will be including a B-roll of our next plant, which is another new plant to the collection. I purchased this plant back in September for my birthday at the International Aroid Show. We went down to Miami, and I have a whole video about our experience if you want to go watch it, but I did pick up a beautiful, ginormous, stunning philodendron strawberry shake, and it has quickly become one of my favorite philodendrons of all time, just based on how beautiful the variegation that this plant produces. So the plant I personally picked out had 2 growth points coming from one main vine, and one side was not as variegated, but the other main really thick chunk of the plant was heavily variegated. The stem variegation was amazing, and I think I got a really great price for such a large specimen of a plant, and I could not be more happy to be the owner of such an amazing specimen. And I also just put this plant on a poll in a past video, plant tours video, if you want to go check that out as well. I did have a lot of fun moving that plant over and getting it into its new home. As you can see, it is looking super beautiful. It had just put out a new leaf whenever I made that video, and I had waited till it had completely hardened off to just make sure that everything was going to go smoothly when I transitioned it into its new pot and putting it on its new pole. As you can see, I have it right next to the Levoit humidifier, and I'm pretty sure it has really adjusted well to its new environment. I think it's getting enough light, and only time will tell. So please, again, just follow me on Instagram if you want to stay up to date on how this plant continues to develop and climb up its little pole that I have made for it. I am really, really excited to see how big and beautiful and variegated this plant can truly get, and one day I will be cutting it up to hopefully sell in my little Planted Hippie shop, and yeah, hopefully make some money back on my purchase. I know this plant is super, super popular, and I'm really, really happy to share with other plant members in my community, so I cannot wait for that day. Hopefully by next spring I'll be able to take cuttings whenever it is a little bit more established on its pole, and again acclimated to my space, and again makes it through winter all right. So yeah, I definitely had to give that plant a mention today, and it was definitely meant for our #1 spot because I cannot stop looking at it whenever I enter our plant room, and I am just so in love with it. So that is why I had to put it as our #1 plant for today, the philodendron strawberry shake. So that is going to bring us to the end of today's video. I so do hope you guys enjoyed getting to see my monthly houseplant favorites for the month of October. If you did stick around all the way to the end, I do appreciate you, and please ask that you leave a like, maybe even a comment down below, leaving your monthly houseplant favorites listed below as well, or even hitting that subscribe button so that you are notified every time I upload a new video, and to help me keep on planting. Please also don't forget to follow me on Instagram at planted.hippie, where I post new planty photos daily. So with that, I will see you all in the next video. Bye guys!